morning. It is such a pleasure to be back here and to be giving morning prayers. The inspired text this morning comes from our neighbor to the west and alumnus of this college, Henry David Thoreau, and his late essay, Walking. It's a text I know well, but I recently received as a gift a new edition, reread it, and happened upon this passage and saw it with new eyes. I wish to share it with you. The walker in the familiar fields which stretch around my native town sometimes finds himself in another land than is described in their owner's deeds, as it were in some faraway field on the confines of the actual conquered, where her jurisdiction ceases, and the idea which the word conquered suggests ceases to be suggested. I took a walk on Spalding's farm the other afternoon. I saw the setting sun lighting up the opposite side of a stately pine wood. Its golden rays straggled into the aisles of the wood as into some noble hall. I was impressed as if some ancient and altogether admirable and shining family had settled there in that part of the land called Concord, a family unknown to me, to whom the sun was servant, who had not gone into society, into the village, who had not been called on. I saw their park, their pleasure ground beyond the wood in Spalding's cranberry meadow. The pines furnished them with gables as they grew. Their house was not obvious to vision. The trees grew through it. I do not know whether I heard the sound of a suppressed hilarity or not. They seemed to recline on the sunbeams. They have sons and daughters. They're quite well. They've never heard of Spalding and do not know that he is their neighbor. Nothing can equal the serenity of their lives. Their coat of arms is simply a lichen. I saw it painted on the pines and oaks. Their attics were in the tops of the trees. They are of no politics. There was no noise of labor. I did not perceive that they were weaving or spinning. Yet I did detect, when the wind lulled and the hearing was done away, the finest imaginable sweet musical hum, as of a distant hive in May, which perchance was the sound of their thinking. But I find it difficult to remember them. They fade irrevocably out of my mind even now, while I speak and endeavor to recall them and recollect myself. It's only after a long and serious effort to recollect my best thoughts that I become again aware of their cohabitancy. If it were not for families like this, I think I should move out of Concord. Forgive me for the long quote. Remarkable words from our neighbor. I know the fields, woods, and waters of Concord fairly well, and I know of what Thoreau speaks, how the walker sometimes finds himself in another land. We pass by these woods just as we might pass over these words, but I invite you to linger and to listen. Sometimes, he says, you will find yourself in another land, which is to say, a land peopled by others. Although a deed declares it Spalding's land, it belongs to those other than us. Others, some of whom are like us. Mammals scurrying along the frozen ground or up and down the bare trees. Others less like us, our winged neighbors or those who live in and under the water. And still others, more other, such as the ancient and altogether admirable and shining family Thoreau met on Thoreau's farm one late afternoon, a family who are said to recline on sunbeams. Please, I beg you, please, show some courage and some curiosity, and do not retreat into the flattened certainty that these are mere metaphors. Whoever or whatever this family was, or more likely is, Thoreau met them. Although the village had never called upon them and they'd never heard of Spalding, Thoreau became their neighbor, and they his. He saw their coat of arms, peeked into their attics, and most marvelous of all, he heard the sound of their thinking. Such families exist, fathers and mothers, sons and daughters. They're real, not only, as I can attest, in the fields, woods, and waters of Concord, but elsewhere too. However, I fear we have forgotten their names. I find it difficult to remember them, he says, to recall them and to recollect myself. We don't know what to call them, or perhaps more importantly, how to call upon them. And until we do, we cannot recollect ourselves, collect again the shards of our own selves. And so we have to wait and to walk, hoping to catch a glimpse or a murmur. And we have to learn to walk until we find ourselves in another land. We have to learn how to wait until hearing is done away with. And only then, perhaps, can we listen for the distant hive of another mind. It is they, these others, who give Concord its proper name. And if it were not for them, like Thoreau, we should not wish to live there, or here, or anywhere.